Hi, my name is Todd Creager. What I do is I help couples rekindle passion. I help them heal from crises such as infidelity. I help individuals heal from trauma, and I help individuals get out of toxic relationships and into healthy ones. Today's topic is a very important one. I call it gaslighting, brainwashing, and mind control, tools of the abuser. Now, when I talk, I'm going to speak as if the woman is the victim and the male is the perpetrator, but this happens in heterosexual relationships, homosexual relationships, and oftentimes it can also happen that the woman is the abuser. But most of the time, it is this way where the man is the one who's trying to be very controlling to avoid growing up and facing his own contributions to the problems. And he needs that sense of control. Underneath that sense of control usually is a feeling of extreme powerlessness that maybe he had when he was younger. But the woman in this case, and like I said, I'm saying this just for simplicity's sake, the woman is feeling very self-doubting. This man learns to make her off balance so that she's not able to trust her own perceptions. For example, I had a couple that came in to see me where he started off the session saying, look, the problem we have in this relationship is my wife's going to blame me for too much drinking and for being too loud and for taking over conversations, but the real issue is her menopause. That's how the session started. That's how the therapy started with this couple. And of course I gave her a chance to speak her mind. But in between sessions, she would call me as many as 4 times in a week, just for a few minutes, just to say, this is what happened. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? If you sometimes feel like, what's wrong with me? Am I crazy? It may be that you're not crazy, but you are committed to a crazy maker. That's right. Sometimes people are really good at making you feel crazy. I had a couple that came in to see me, another couple, where she was on the anxious spectrum. She would get anxious, but she was all right. She was concerned. They were getting married. This is a couple, a middle-aged couple that were getting married, and he had adult children in their 20s that were very manipulative, and they were very mean to her. And she would confront the man about how he dealt with these kids of his, and he would threaten not getting married. And it happened in my office. That's exactly what happened. He says, well, maybe instead of him looking at it and saying, well, it's uncomfortable for me, but you're right, I need to be more supportive of you. If he was a healthier person, he would do that. Instead, he says, well, look, if this is not the right relationship for you, then let's just not get married. And then she started to get all angry and upset, and then he looks at me and says, see how crazy she gets? And I said, see what a great crazy maker you are? And that was the last time I saw them as a couple. He never came back. But she called me up and says that was really helpful. It gave me strength. It put things in context that maybe I'm not crazy. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. The couple I just mentioned before, he would trivialize. He would say, I don't know what you're upset about. This is no big deal. Why are you letting something so small get in the way? Where he has just totally disregarded something very important to her or was cruel to her. So that happens. Sometimes the person will pretend that they don't remember things, and I do believe that they do remember. They're pretending as a way to make the other person feel like, again, they're crazy. There's times where they'll actually counter. They'll pretend that you remembered it wrong. You always remember things wrong. So these are the things that are important for you as the victim to know really exists, and that you don't want to take zero responsibility, but be careful to take too much responsibility. There are times when we need to put the responsibility on the person who's really manipulative. So if you feel that sense of what's wrong with me and that doubt, that might be a time to reach out for either individual therapy or couples therapy. Someone like myself could really help. I would also recommend that you click on the link below and get the checklist, 7 signs you come from a dysfunctional family. Because the person who oftentimes is with and stays with a person that is so manipulative may have also come from a family where they were made to feel maybe less significant, less important. So it's definitely worth a click and look at that. So be creative, be courageous, and reach out, and you want to learn to trust yourself. more than your manipulative partner. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.